This is episode number 104 of the Homeowners Show. Whether you're a DIY or looking to hire, we're here to help you find the best information and options for you and your home. My name is Kevin Hackett, and here with me is Craig Williams.
Hello, and welcome to the Homeowners Show. We're glad that you could join us for part 2 of our episode with Tachus.
That is right. Number 2.
We were having so much fun, we just had to do it again.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes you wind up doing a show and you think, man, this is going to be really good. And then it goes on and on and on.
Well, because it's fun. We were having a good time.
It was really good. Great information.
And we could have kept going, honestly. I mean, we talked a little bit after the show when we got done recording this one. And we did talk for longer. We just didn't capture it. We got some good stuff. We didn't record that.
Yeah, no, we didn't. But all that being said, I think that many of you who listened to last week's episode, you're like, man, there's some other things that I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
Here's your chance. Yeah.
That's what this episode is going to be. So
that's right.
We're going to go ahead and let you in there. But before we do that, we got a couple of things we want to talk about first.
Yeah, just real quick, we want to give a really cool shout out to our new friend Lauren Fox. I don't know. Is this in shot?
It is.
Okay. So this is a coaster that he sent to us with a little note on the back. That's just for us. You can't see that. But it's our logo on a coaster. And next week we'll actually show you the big sign that he sent us that he made for us. Super cool. Lauren Fox. I don't know if we don't have a link. I don't know if he has like an Etsy shop. Lauren, if you have an Etsy shop or something like that, let us know what it is so that we can put the links in the show notes. So if people want to go, get something printed on wood. And this is like cut. It's like textured.
Yeah.
Super cool. And we'll show you the sign next week. But really cool. We got to talk to him online. And he's doing some really neat stuff. So thank you, Lauren.
That's right. Well, listen, thanks for tuning into the show today. We're going to go ahead and let you in on the second half of our conversation, the part 2 of our conversation with Tachus. Thanks for downloading the show.
Enjoy.
So I guess the next logical question here is, what makes one router better than the other? Because there's so many things on the market, and you talk to so many different people, and they're going to say, "Hey, go with this one, go with that one." And I'm going to tell you every time, if you have a large house, go with the mesh system. And people that may not know what that means is basically you've got a router, but then there's other access points that you put in your home, and you don't have to switch what's called an SSID, which is just basically your network name. You don't have to switch network names in order to go to a different device in your home and have connectivity. So it's true full house expandable options, but maybe you don't need that. Maybe you have the option of putting the router in the very middle of your home, and you can use something that's not quite as expensive, and maybe you only need one router instead of a mesh system. It has multiple access points. So the question becomes, what makes one router better than the other then?
It's another tough question because there's a very long-winded technical answer to that. And I'll try to come up with some better analogies than what I've come up with so far. But in summary, the hardware inside is they're different. Wireless. So one thing to keep in mind is, and I'll come back to answer that in a second, but I think I might preface the answer with wireless works like sound. It is sound. It's just sound that we can't hear. And you think about if you and I were inside your home having a conversation in the middle of your living room. We don't have to talk very loud. We hear each other very well. And we continue the conversation, and I'll walk down the hall upstairs and go into a closet and close the door. I can't hear you. You can't hear me very well.
Right.
That's how wireless works. It works just like sound. So the more walls you have, the more wireless devices you have that are also making noise. I mean, think about this. Think about it this way. Again, I'm in your living room having a conversation with you. We can speak very clearly and we hear each other. Don't have to talk very loud. Then all of a sudden we get transplanted in the middle of a heavy metal concert with everyone yelling. You and I can't hear each other very well. That's what happens whenever you have more wireless devices within your home that are all yelling at the same time. It's noise. So all those things you have to consider, and that's why the mesh systems work so well, is that you don't have a single device that's talking back and forth to your other devices. You kind of spread that out. But what makes, kind of circling back to what makes one device better than another, it's the components that are inside of it, the number of antennas, the using the voice and sound analogy, how loud they are, how well they can hear. And again, I feel like I'm saying this more than I should. I hope this is kind of making sense, because I can't think of many other analogies, but other than you have to think that wireless devices, they communicate via sound that we can't hear, and the better devices can hear better and yell louder.
You kind of get what you pay for, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like I'll just give you an example. My Eero mesh system, it's the Eero Pro router with two beacons that you can plug into other places in your house. So basically, there's 3 access points. It's like $400. So it's not cheap to get that system. That's today. Now it may be, depending on when you're listening to this, it could be less expensive in the future. But you could also go buy $100 router, or maybe even $80 router, and would it do the job? Well, it all kind of depends. And I think one of the things that people need to kind of determine is, what do they need out of their router? I mean, for Craig and for me, when we've got children at home, we need some filters, and we need the option to lock down or pause our internet, or to put content filters, and so that our children don't get to things that they don't need to be getting to. Certain routers give you the opportunity to lock some certain parts of the internet down, where others don't necessarily give you that option. So knowing your family and knowing the way your internet is being used, I think makes a big difference in which router is going to be the right one for you. So it's not a blanket answer, but you get what you pay for. If you find a cheap router and someone tells you it's great, well, they're probably wrong, frankly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, up to a certain point, I can say that I have worked with some commercial or enterprise, quote unquote, enterprise grade wireless devices, wireless access points. And they weren't really any better than some others that were much more economically priced. But I can say that if you go out and buy something off Amazon for $50 or $60, I would say the range between $50 and $500, you absolutely get what you pay for within that range. You go over and above the 500 mark, you're paying for a name, you're paying for marketing. You're really not getting much for your money over and above that.
Right.
But so that would be my 2 cents. And I can say that we have had, just like yourself, Kevin, we've had many clients that have raved about the Eero Pro mesh system. It's not cheap, but it's a set it and forget it. You buy it, you're done, and you don't have to worry. Wireless becomes a non-issue at that point.
It does. And there's some really cool things that I can do with my phone. Like I'm 30 miles away from my house right now, and if I want to pause the internet at my house, I can do it. And that's a nice little feature. I mean, that, Craig and I talk about family life quite a bit and how important our families are. And, you can set your internet to work at certain times and to not work at other times. And you can really, with the Eero, I can see every single device that is on my internet router, on my router that's connected. And I can set each one of them to a different profile. And each one of those profiles can have their own content filters. So, if I want my daughter to have, if I want her internet to shut down at 8:00 at night, but I want my son's to shut down at 6:00 at night, I can do that. And it doesn't come back on until I tell it to. So there are a lot of things that you have the ability to do with some of these systems that others don't give you the ability to do. Now some people are going to listen to this and go, look, it's just me and it's my husband and my wife or whatever. It's just two of us living at home and we don't really do anything but watch TV and answer phone calls. Well, maybe you don't need all of that stuff, but kind of knowing who you are and what you need in your house, I think that kind of goes to what speeds you need, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, all of it kind of plays into how you're using what it is that you have. And that's going to determine, what you need,
Yep.
And
yeah,
and how going back to your analogy about you being in your house and then moving over to the rock concert. If I'm understanding what you're talking about, moving over to like the rock concert, it doesn't necessarily mean that just because you're logged in to that Wi-Fi network doesn't mean that the other networks around you aren't creating noise. So you don't necessarily have to be logged into those networks in order for them to be, deterring your speed and slowing things down and making noise. They're still there, especially in these neighborhoods where these houses are so close together. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, you are. I mean, kind of add to that, people living in apartment homes or condominiums or townhomes, they have a lot of wireless challenges because their neighbors are talking over their wireless within their home. So yeah, you get it. With a wireless router, gosh, we could have a whole other segment just talking about wireless. But you are correct. I mean,
so in other words, it's not necessarily a good thing that all those other networks are showing up like on your phone. That you're like, what are all these other networks? That's not necessarily a good thing. That's just noise.
No,
being
it's not
created.
a good thing. It's a bad thing.
Yeah. It's good to be in the sticks.
Yeah.
to a certain degree, which by the way, we need to get you guys out to my neighborhood. Because one of the challenges of the homeowner show is that the internet is terrible in the studio.
Yep.
I wish I had $1 for everyone that said that. I'd probably be living on an island somewhere at this point. But
hey, I would love to help you get to that island.
Well, so
I'd love to bring internet to your neighborhood.
Yeah,
we'd love to get there.
And I'll kind of speak to that for a minute. Like one of the things you talked about is that y'all create your own infrastructure. You're not piggybacking off of anybody else. So, for example, whenever y'all came into our neighborhood, you had to get a certain number of buy-in from the homeowners to say, yes, we will pre-order this before you would be willing to spend the money. I can't even imagine how much money it takes to put down the infrastructure to lay all of that fiber cable. And just to kind of put this into perspective, y'all had a major problem that happened, I don't know, maybe 2.5 or 3 months ago at the corner of 105 and Walden Road. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
There was a drilling company that was there doing work for another utility.
Yeah, another utility company came in, started drilling without knowing what they were drilling through and drilled right through the backbone of that entire area, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep,
so
that's correct.
So let me put this into perspective for everyone. So I didn't know what happened. Everybody like Nextdoor and the Facebook community pages were all blowing up. I don't have any internet. What's going on? And within about 30 minutes, maybe 45, we get a text from Tachus that says, our main backbone has been cut. Like there's like we got a text and an email with like multiple paragraphs explaining what had happened and that they were going to get it back online as soon as possible. This took roughly, if I remember correctly, roughly 6 hours to fix. Am I right on that time frame? Do you remember how long it took to fix?
Actually, that's about right.
It was down from about 10 o'clock that morning until about 4:45.
Yeah.
We had to replace about a half mile of cable.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Splice in at multiple points. Yeah, to get that back up and running. And
y'all, that's crazy that in 6 hours you got out there, you got half a mile relayed and got us back going. And then on top of that, you kind of took it a step further and like sent another email out saying, hey, we're very sorry. This is not the type of service we try to offer. And yet, we had no control over this, that sort of thing. I can't imagine if that happened with some of these other companies, how many days we would have been without service, because you do a great job. And I want to tell you, from a consumer side, I thoroughly appreciate the fact that it only took 6 hours, because that could have been a much bigger ordeal. And you would have had a lot of people complaining, obviously, over something that you had zero control over,
Yeah, I appreciate that. We look at it as what would, since we started with a clean sheet of paper, we look at it as what would we want our internet provider to be like if we could start with a clean sheet and create a Christmas wish list. And that's what we've done, and we're continuing to improve on it. Everyone around the office knows the saying for me is I hate fire drills. I'd rather get a red light than a fire drill. And that was a fire drill. So to prevent the fire drills, we have been in the process. You've probably seen some of the construction building around the east side of the lake to complete a ring. So in the future, roll forward a little bit. If that were to happen again, which God hopes it doesn't, but if that were to happen again, we get a red light. We know it was cut. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
You continue to be up as if nothing happened. Yeah. And we don't have to have everyone run out there to pull in half a mile of cable and splice in and everything else. We can, worry about it tomorrow because no one's down.
Yeah.
So we're in the process of building that. So
that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, Kevin,
Yeah, go ahead, please.
No, thanks for that. I mean, just to give you an idea of what we've done in a relatively short period of time in the Lake Conroe area, we've invested over $15 million in the infrastructure in the ground.
Wow.
And so, as you can imagine, we treat it like our baby, right? And we treat every single customer like it's our internet connection there. And so we pride ourselves on having on effectively delivering to the customer as close as possible, if not even better, than an enterprise grade connection into their home. And so when you say enterprise grade, that means, 4 nines of reliability, 99.99% up all the time. And so, because we know that people are working from home, we know that they are educating their children from home. And before COVID, it's the same thing. Nothing has changed for us, but frankly, the magnitude, the gravity of what we're offering, the service that we're giving, we treat that really seriously. And to have something like that happen in the midst of a global pandemic, when people are trying to work from home, when they're trying to wrap up the school year, this is in early May, I think you're referring to. That was something that really we had already put in motion. What Hal described. Quite frankly, we ended up probably building one of the most challenging, if not the most challenging, areas to build a fiber network. In the Houston area, because of all the fingers there, right, and all the it's virtually impossible unless you go across a bridge or tunnel underneath the lake for 2 miles up along 1097 to create a loop. And so how do you do that? Well, there are a number of different ways you can. We're putting those in motion right now. We're really excited over the next few weeks, next couple of months to unveil what we have planned for our customers to really complete that. So that's why we said, look, that's not the service that we set out to deliver.
Yeah.
Even that 6 hour, or 8 hour downtime that we had, as you can imagine, that's just, we wouldn't want that for our homes. And I don't care what people have gotten so far and what they're used to. At Tachus, we don't talk about everyone else. We talk about what we want to deliver, and we want to always be getting better, always improving. And so that's why we also gave a credit to our customers and said, look, we're going to treat you like you're a commercial customer. And if you're in a service level agreement with an enterprise grade internet provider, they provide service credits during outages if they occur, right? So if they do not hit their service level agreement, then you get a prorated amount. And so that's exactly what we did. We gave everyone a $5 rebate. It probably does not for a lot of folks. Some of them might have been impacted far more than $5. But at least, we wanted to show, look, we're going to put our money where our mouth is. We've not only invested in our network, but we've invested in you as a customer. Yeah. And we want you to know that we take this really seriously.
Well, I'll tell you this, like it made me go. I remember I told Craig about this, and if you remember, I said they've got a customer for life out of me just for that $5 credit. I mean, it was you saying I'm sorry in a huge, huge way, and not only that, like just recently, Texas changed the tax laws for you guys, and we got an email saying that, hey, look, they're not charging internet tax like they used to. And so we're not going to keep charging you the same amount. Your bill is going to go down. It's that kind of stuff that, I think we live in an age where people try to take advantage of people any way they can. And to have a company that is not willing to take advantage of, but rather say, you know what, the customer is our top priority. And without the customer, we have no company. That's the type of company that I want to stick with. So, y'all are doing a lot of things right. And I guess I encourage a lot of people that don't live in this area, like, check out what your options are. You may be surprised there might be another option. If you're not happy with the service you get, shop around and see what your options are.
Well, thanks for that, Kevin. And if Tachus, I was just going to say that if Tachus isn't in your area, go ahead and sign up online. You show up as a very important dot on the map. And so if we see a lot of those dots in any given area, believe me, I actually look at those dots every single day. And there's a story behind every single dot. And so there are some dots and some clusters of homes that frankly does not make business sense, because at the end of the day, of course, we're trying to make a profit and for this to be a win-win.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, if there are enough dots that pop up, or we have homeowners associations or concerned residents calling saying, hey, we would love to have Tachus there. Believe you me, we would love to bring Tachus to you if we can.
Yeah. One thing I'll add to that for those that are sorry. For those that are
go ahead, Hal.
We do not sell your information. We do not use it for marketing, other than if we decide that we see that there is enough interest in an area, then we will send you an email and say, hey, we've opened it for signups. Other than that, that's it. So for those that are afraid to put in their information, give out their email, we do not sell your information. We take privacy very seriously. And the only thing that it does, it shows us that there is an interest in the area and that we should consider building there. So I just thought I'd throw that out there as well.
No, that actually is probably helpful to folks to want to sign up to put that dot on the map. I mean, for guys like me, I mean, I tell people all the time, I think when my wife and I moved to the neighborhood that we're in now, we brought the median age down to around 77. And, it's like these, it's difficult to move new technology into neighborhoods like what we live in, because it's a little, like you guys had kind of alluded to earlier, this is kind of a difficult area because it's traditionally kind of rural, a little more country.
than like inner city Houston, anywhere north, anywhere south of 1960. It's a much different community than those areas, even though we're kind of in the Houston area. But one of the big complaints I hear from people, like in my neighborhood in particular, and so I'm gonna continue to push you guys to get those dots up on the map, is that most people say that they're sort of living under these monopolistic regimes of internet providers, where I don't even though the service sucks, I only have one choice, and so I've got to keep going back to these people, and I can complain even though they're not going to do anything. And I'm just kind of curious: is that kind of what you guys are fighting against? Is sort of these, and I'm not necessarily like saying like monopolies are inherently evil or anything like that, but like that these a lot of people just don't have any other options to pick from.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and especially if you're in rural areas too, depending on it's called a census block, right? And depending on the area where you are, a lot of these companies, these telecom companies, are getting paid money by the government to give the bare minimum there. And it's not a knock, on that. That's
yeah.
As long as they're serving you with FCC defined broadband, which is 25 by 3, they're eligible to collect that money. But as with all those, it's nameplate capacity, right? In a vacuum. But then you start putting people on the network and, suddenly it bogs down. But yeah, there are options. A lot of people don't realize in a lot of these areas, or in fact, all across the United States, they have a quote unquote monopoly, but they also have access to satellite TV. I actually come from the satellite TV world, the satellite broadband world.
Okay.
And so you could actually get, 25 by 3. Now, granted, if a strong storm comes through, it's probably going to interrupt the signal, but quite frankly, the outages are far less, right? They might be a little bit more intermittent, but the outages are far less there. In fact, I'm also a co-founder of a company that's delivering a satellite. We're actually launching a satellite next year up in Alaska. Talk about one of the most challenging regions, in the United States to do that. But satellite internet works, and if your only option is a 10 megabit per second DSL connection, a 10 by 1 connection, which is very common for DSL. Quite frankly, you can get a 25 to 50 megabit per second satellite internet connection and pretty much cut the cord, and have better speeds. It comes with its own challenges, but it at least is another option it's always up there. So just for what it's worth.
Sure. Well, and that kind of leads me into a little bit of what we wanted to talk with you guys about. Because we are in the middle of, having our kids be at home for school. Everyone's having to be on their own device. Mom and dad need a break, to Netflix and chill or whatever it is. We're using the internet more probably than we ever have in the history of the internet, which was probably going to happen just because of, progress in technological progress. But what are some tips that you guys might have for folks at home, aside from, obviously signing up for Tachus? What are some tips in order to make that experience better at home for people? And I think I've heard one already, which is hardwire as much as you can. What might be some other suggestions that you guys have for homeowners to better improve their internet speeds at home?
I think you heard also what Hal said earlier about investing in the hardware too, right? So in addition to hardwiring, you get what you pay for, generally within that $50 to $500 range that Hal mentioned earlier in this call or earlier in this podcast. And so that's definitely something else you can do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is hardwire what you can, invest in decent, for what you can't hardwire, you got to go wireless. So invest in a decent wireless mesh system, similar to Eero or Eero Pro mesh. There's some other things you have to consider, like stucco. If you've ever seen a stucco home get built, it almost looks like chicken wire that they put up before they put the stucco on. Those are the worst because those are like little antennas inside the walls that just interfere with the service. So maybe buy 2 Eero Pros, just to cover that house.
You're singing my love language right now, man. You and I could probably riff on stucco homes for a couple of hours, my friend.
Is your stucco by chance?
It is not. No. No.
Okay.
If you've listened to any old episodes, like my house is weird, but it is not stucco. So it has its own issues, though.
But yeah, those are the things that you can do to help. Another thing that you can do is if you don't want to spend the money on an Eero Pro system, spend $400 or $500 on it. I'd suggest, the problem is I was going to suggest getting someone who knows how to configure wireless properly out of the box. Most routers are set at the slowest setting, so you can get, more devices on wireless at the same time. Again, I'm kind of going down the technical path of wireless, which, like I said, I could do a whole show on that, but get someone who knows how to configure them properly. Because if you have just a handful of devices, there's some changes you can make to it to significantly speed up your throughput on the wireless side. But those are just a few things I can think of.
And if you're with Tachus, do you guys have techs and help desk people that can help you do that?
We do to an extent. We focus on providing fast, reliable internet service, not being all things to all people tech related. Our technicians will do what they can to help as much as they can, but there is a point where they've got to kind of hand that off to someone else. And we just launched our new website on Friday of last week. And we're really revamping. The old site had an integrators page where our customers could recommend IT people to help, and we'd post them on that page. And there was a rating system where the customers could go in and rate them if they've used them and put in blurbs about their experience with them. As Tachus goes, we don't really want to recommend any particular one because we may have 10 that are great, 10 that are awful. We just don't know and don't want to, make a bad recommendation that could reflect poorly on us. So we're trying to build this ecosystem where our customers can kind of, rate these integrators. I use the analogy of if you want to buy a set of headphones on Amazon, you're not going to call Amazon and ask them which ones they recommend. You're going to go do a search and find out what all these people have rated and reviewed and make your decision based on that. So that's what we're trying to build. And, in the meantime, while we're revamping that piece of the site, customer service and tech support should be able to give you a list of those names that you can, make a decision on your own, as far as which one to go. But yeah, we tell our folks, do what you can as much as you can, but at some point you've got to have someone that they can hand that off to.
Yeah, and it's probably not difficult to find someone in your area with a simple Google search to find someone that can help you with that, or maybe a YouTube video or two.
Post something on Nextdoor. You'll get 500 responses with 500 different names.
Yes,
absolutely, yeah. And I'm gonna circle back around to something that Kevin was talking about earlier with kind of looking over the well-being of your kids while they're at home and they're on the internet, which it sort of exposes them to a certain degree to certain elements of society and different things like that. And there was a news story I was reading, and Carter, I think you'll kind of appreciate this. I think you were telling me earlier you used to host a show about current events. A news story I was reading earlier today was this psychologist who was commenting about a new Cardi B song, which apparently she's a musician, had some inappropriate. That's right. Had some inappropriate lyrics that apparently a lot of kids were listening to, and this psychologist was giving some tips as to like how to, talk to your children about these lyrics that they're, potentially hearing on this new Cardi B song. And I think articles like that would, sort of concern a lot of parents as to like what they're exposing their children to by allowing them to be on the internet for, school, that they also have access to things like YouTube and, iTunes and music and streaming and all these different things that they can sort of wander into. What are some ways that, and obviously there's a multitude of things, and this may not be like your area of expertise, but like what are some ways that you guys know of right off bat that we can help, protect our children from certain elements of the internet, because we know that there's not great elements out there.
Al, as you mentioned, probably know more about this than I.
A little bit. As you mentioned, many of the wireless devices, wireless mesh systems, routers have, if you spend a little more than your $50-$60 on a router, they'll have some of those services built in. Just like you mentioned, Kevin, with the Era system. I'm not promoting or recommending it, not for any reason other than, I don't want someone to go buy it and say, well, Hal Tachus said it was great and it didn't work for me.
Right.
But I'll say that I have two daughters, 10 and 12, and they're right in the thick of that age.
Yeah.
So I have a device called a Disney Circle that may not be for everyone, but it works well for us.
Yeah, we've
and it has all
we've talked about those before.
Yeah.
You're looking for a content filter, it does a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because you can set limits. You can, set, one of the things I really like is you can set rewards. If they do certain things, you can turn the internet on and off. You can block specific applications. You can pause the internet. It gives us the control that we need to do the best job that we can to keep them out of trouble. Kids are resilient and creative, and I hope they don't find a way around it, but thus far it's worked.
Well, and again, you're not necessarily promoting that device, but the fact that like the CEO of an internet providing company has a device like Disney Circle for his kids at home should speak volumes to everyone listening to this episode right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a device to check out and make your own decision. As I mentioned, it's worked well for me, and I could hit the pause button. Well, they're probably in bed right now, given the time. But if we had done if I had demonstrated at the beginning of the show, if I had hit the pause button, you'd hear two screams. The internet. Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
We have similar tantrums in our home as well.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Well, we've covered a lot. Is there anything about Tachus that we haven't covered that you think our listeners may be interested in hearing?
Two things I think I'd mention is because we get asked this a lot, or we see comments on it. Craig, I believe you mentioned, I don't know if it was Craig or you, Kevin, that mentioned, we open areas for signups. We do take a $20 sign-up fee when we do that, and to be very clear, that's just to make sure there is a demand. It keeps the 15-year-old gamer from going out and signing up, 500 or 1,000 of his neighbors, and hoping that we come build it. So it's a small commitment that we ask of the residents within the neighborhood, so that we can make a large commitment within the neighborhood. And anytime we have an area that's open for signups, we have a goal that we need to reach to make it make sense. And if we reach that goal, we build it. If we don't reach that goal, then we refund everyone's money. We're not out to take anyone's money. It's solely just as a validation to make sure there's a true demand. So there's that. And then the other thing, yeah, exactly. And, it goes towards your first month service. So it's not that you're losing the money. It's just a confirmation that, hey, you really want us to come build it. And
we want to make sure you're a person.
Yeah, exactly. The way we look at it is, once you're installed, there's no contract, there's no cancellation fee. It's a month-to-month service, and we have no intention of ever raising rates. As you've seen, the rates have gone down, not up.
That's right.
And I just hopefully for those that are like, who's Tachus? I've never heard of this company. They're just another shady internet or telco provider. We're really trying to change that perception. And we appreciate you giving us this opportunity, and Kevin, you being a customer, and glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely, most definitely.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
Sure. Well, we like I said before we started this, we cannot let you get away without going through something we call our Final Four.
The Final Four.
That's right. Final four questions we ask each one of our guests. So we're going to go through each one of them. We'll try to make it speedy because I know we've been doing this for a long time. Hal, we are going to start with you. How about that?
You guys might be setting the record for longest homeowner show episode, and it doesn't feel like it, but it's creeping up there for sure.
Such good information, man. I mean, I think this is going to be a well downloaded episode, I believe. So here's the first question. Hal, we're going to start with you. What's the must have tool you won't leave your house without?
I want to give you the cliche answer and say it's my cell phone, but I think that's a given. I'm not going to stray too far from that answer, and I'm probably going to say my Apple Watch.
Oh, there you go. We actually have not gotten an Apple Watch before, but I think that's actually a pretty good answer. I
agree.
I've actually been using. I use the flashlight function on mine a ton now.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with that function. I've seen it on there. I haven't used it. I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, I don't know how many attics you crawl around, but for me, it's really helpful.
I used to climb around a lot when we first started, but hopefully my days of climbing around an attic is far behind me.
If you've got 50 plus employees, you got plenty of other people to crawl around the attic for you.
Exactly. But if they need my help,
but
I'm available.
But Kevin, we've got to hold Hal back sometimes. So he itches to get out there in the field. And I love that.
He wants to go.
All right.
But we can't have our CEO doing that.
That's right. No. That's right. Well, Carter, how about you? What's a must-have tool you won't leave your house without?
Gosh, I would say my wallet.
Oh.
Because I can get whatever I need after as I leave the house, and I don't know, maybe
there you go.
Just because I wear the CFO hat at Tachus, having cash on hand is always on my mind.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. Second question. What's a job you've walked away from? Hal, we already gave you the disclaimer. I'm going to let you go whichever way you want to with this. But what's a job you walked away from?
Probably the most memorable one was April 7th, 2000. It was the last day I was employed by someone. And, that was I was standing at the cliff looking over the edge, and I took the leap. And I thank God every day that I did.
Amen.
To put me here tonight. And, that was probably the scariest, hardest decision for you to make. And, I can't say that it's been fantastic and without any sort of, turmoil, but, as Carter knows this phrase well, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah. That's right.
But, But for those that are considering it, making the leap, especially in this global pandemic with the job market the way it is, there's not a better time, in my opinion. So
That's right.
give it a shot.
All right, Carter, you're up. What's a job you've walked away from?
Kind of a similar story, Kevin. I've been kind of on the entrepreneurial side of the financial world for several years, but had the pleasure of co-founding several different companies. Obviously, Tachus, it's one that I'm over the moon over. But back in 2014, I had left my previous job at a financial advisory firm in Houston, and had co-founded a energy technology company here. And we capitalized the company with a little bit of equity that we had raised in March of 2014. And as those in the oil and gas sector will remember well, that the bottom kind of fell out in the price of oil in July of 2014. And so I went for about a year and a half, as a pure entrepreneur. I'd always kind of talked about it and always worked with entrepreneurs before, but I'd never done it myself. And unpaid, struggling, and then I made the decision at the very end of 2015. We had just had our second child at that point. My wife and I had. And then I left that job, and I figured, you know what? I'm already scraping the bottom of the barrel. So why don't I start my own firm, and actually put into practice the financial world and the entrepreneurial world, together. And that's actually because of that, I started my own firm called Continuum Technology Capital. And that's how Hal and I met.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Number 3. How do you wind down at the end of a long day, Hal?
Is adult beverage an appropriate answer?
Absolutely. Yes.
No,
Greg
on
already
occasion.
wound down.
I'm winding down right now, Hal.
All right. I wish I could say I was joining you, but
we'll save that for a later date.
Yeah, for a later date. On occasion I might have a glass of wine or something like that. But I'm fairly boring. My end of day unwind. I have an iPad that I will either read, go to just meaningless websites to read stuff that doesn't matter, or sometimes I'll do just technical research on the industry to kind of see what's going on. Any of which will bore me enough to make me go to sleep. So that's. I would say I read a lot, but I just I can read 2 pages and either I have to go back and reread those 2 pages or I just fall asleep.
Yeah.
So I'll do audiobooks, but that's kind of the boring answer.
Well, no, I'm actually intrigued. What's in the queue in the audiobooks these days?
I don't read I don't really read fiction. There's a guy that I've kind of been reading a couple of his books, named Simon Sinek.
Oh yeah, I love Simon.
Who I find interesting. So I've read a couple of his books recently. And
which one did you finish most recently?
Begin with Why.
Yeah, that's a fantastic book.
Yep. And
I'm anticipating reading. I think it's Leaders Eat Last. I think it's the most recent one that's come out.
Yeah. I
haven't started it yet, but I'm really interested in consuming that one. That's right. I can be punny.
Okay.
Nice.
Hey, all right. Moving on. Carter, how do you wind down at the end of a long day, buddy?
Well, I've got a little bit of a commute. Fortunately, it's a reverse commute down from the Woodlands at our headquarters here in Tachus to my home, the Galleria area. But what I love to do is to try to make the dinner with the kids. We've got 3 kids now. My oldest Owen is 8 years old. He just turned 8 last week. And one of his first questions that he always asks to me when I sit down with him at the table is, "Hey, Dad, how many installs did Tachus have today?" And so it's always tons of fun. Yeah, it's always tons of fun to talk and hear about their days, and even as any entrepreneur, it doesn't matter if it's just you or if it's leading a team, a large team. We all have the same challenges, the same struggles, but family just puts it all in perspective. And just the ability to kind of step back. That's when I begin to unwind. Unfortunately, my getting home is a little bit later and later these days, just with everything else, all the other exciting things happening at Tachus. But that's something that really I hold really near and dear to. And if there's only one thing that I will that I just won't sacrifice, in this family.
Yeah. Well, that's a good place to be. Craig and I definitely toot that horn as much as possible. So we're behind you on that 100%.
You have to be intentional about it, right? Because it's one of those things that you can eschew, and it's really easy to do that, to put that aside. But if you don't make it a priority, it's not going to happen.
But yeah, I mean, even this right now, I mean, here it is. I mean, it's late in the evening, and Greg and I are kind of just like, look, we're not going to do anything until our kids go to bed. I mean, we're a lot of times we start our podcasting after our kids go to bed because they're important, and so we don't want them to ever feel less than, because we both work, we got jobs, and so kind of is what it is. All right, last question. You're through the home stretch. Here we go.
Number 4.
Here it goes.
What's one of the best pieces of wisdom or advice that you've ever received, Hal?
Wow. I've received a lot. I've been very blessed to get to know some great people, some great business leaders, and I've paid attention and listened, and had a lot of really good advice. But probably the one that resonates most with what I've been doing for the last decade or so is focus on the customer experience. And this isn't really advice that someone told me. It's just I kind of picked it up, I guess. Is focus on the customer experience. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the technology. Focus on the customer first. And think about what that should look like, and wrap the tech around that. And by doing that, the money's just going to naturally happen. And that's that's probably the best advice, because that's what we're doing today. Is we're a company that we're not a charity or a nonprofit, but we're out to keep happy employees and acquire the best talent possible and retain them, and that costs money. So we've got to make a dollar here and there, but that's not our primary focus. Primary focus is the end user experience and make that the best that it possibly can be today, and improve on it tomorrow. So best advice is, like I said, focus on the customer and the customer experience, and wrap the tech around it, and don't worry about the money. Money will happen naturally if you do those first two things.
So just real quick, am I hearing you right? Are you saying wrap the tech around it?
Yeah, like take the customer experience and figure out how you can make the tech fit around that experience. Don't take a technical product or service and say, okay, this is it. Hope the customer likes it. Start with the customer first.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I just want to make sure I heard you right. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, Carter, you're next. What's one of the best pieces of wisdom or advice that you've ever received?
Yeah, that's a really tough parting question here. I would say it's slow down. Slow down. And it's ironic that we're in that I've co-founded a company that's so focuses is on bringing
Speed up.
the fastest we can get, speed up and all that. But ironically, it's actually about finding time, right? And so when Hal talked earlier in this episode about the user experience, do you want to be waiting, or do you actually want to be in control, of your life?
Yeah.
And so especially as we're speeding up as a company, as we're growing, expanding, and pressing on the accelerator, I'm also, and I'm sure Hal has found this as well, we're blessed to have just an amazing team that allows us to leverage ourselves and allows us to, less load is concentrated on any one person. So it really allows you to take a step back, gain perspective, and slow down a bit. I also slow down with prayer. Other people do different ways. I slow down by, working out in the morning as well, kind of having, alone time. And so it's that's what it's all about. It's about kind of, I think that's really how you gain your perspective and make sure that life just doesn't consume you, because you know what? If you allow it to, it's going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's why Carter and I make a fantastic team, because there is no Florida accelerator.
No, I'm right there with you, because I think a lot of people, will tell you that I don't have time for that, even though they say that they would completely recognize that the thing that they're avoiding is the thing that would probably be the most healthy for them to be engaging in. And so the best thing they could do is to slow down and participate in those things, whether it be working out, whether it be praying, whether it be meditating, whether it be, focusing on a good diet, all those different kinds of things. Just to take the time and slow down would just increase their ability to speed up the other aspects of their life further on down the road. So that's a good word.
It's kind of like what my wife, says to me. She's so amazing, but she says it's not that you didn't have the time to do it; it's that you didn't make the time to do it.
There you go.
So again, it goes back to intentionality, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you're intentional with your family, you'll make it happen. You'll find ways to carve out time, and so that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, listen, you make time for things that are important, and you don't skip those things. And so at the end of the day, what you're telling me you don't have time for is something that you just don't find important. And so if you find it important, you'll find time for it. So, that's good stuff for sure. For sure. Well,
I might give some other advice.
Yeah.
Enjoy the journey. Don't focus so much on the goal. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Oh boy. That's for sure.
It's got a lot to tell you.
Man, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there's bumps in the road, man. I mean, there's potholes and there's obstacles and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like, are you making positive headway? And if not, like, what stood in the way? Are you enjoying what you're doing? And if not, find something else. So
both Hal and I have some very formative entrepreneurial experiences that define where we got to today. It's kind of like one of the first things I said to Hal was, I don't partner with any entrepreneur who hasn't already failed. Right? Because I don't want you to fail with me. Right. And I'm not here to fail with you. And so let's take what we've learned to date and let's make something of it.
Sure.
But we are the sum of all of our parts, and we can't help it. And so embrace it. It is all about the journey. Use the bad for good.
Yeah. And that's good stuff. Y'all are very wise men. I appreciate y'all taking the time to share those bits of wisdom with us. But believe it or not, there's a secret fifth question that Craig always pulls out. So
that's right. And it's because it's the only question I could remember.
It's true.
And the question is probably the most important of the show, is if people want to find out more about Tachus, where can they go?
My answer would be website, Facebook. I wish I could say town hall, because we're unfortunately can't do those today. But when we go in a neighborhood, we try to find a place to do those, to talk more about it. And those aren't occurring today for obvious reasons. But
what is that website address, real quick?
Oh, Tachus.com.
Okay.
Tachus.com.
And we'll link
And,
all that
of
up in the
course,
show notes.
Of course, your podcast, the Homeowners Show.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's it. That's it.
Exactly.
That's the best place to get Tachus information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Other
be
than
all-
that, go to the website.
It's going to be in the show notes.
You've got 2 hours of unfiltered Tachus info here on the Homeowners Show. So we appreciate that.
Well, that's,
No, I mean,
Absolutely.
it's mutually beneficial, guys. I mean, that's one of the reasons we do this too. It's like
Absolutely.
you're
Thank you.
getting information out to people in a way that you're just not going to spend 2 hours on the phone with a customer most likely. But this is an opportunity for them to essentially have gotten 2 hours on the phone with you to fully understand what you do, why you do it, how you do it, what makes you different, and all of those sorts of things. And at the end of the day, that's a big part of why we do what we do. So thank y'all for taking the time to call in, talk with us today, spend your time kind of explaining a subject that I think everybody in the world, they have to have this. It's just how are we going to get it? And even when we get it, we don't even necessarily know what we have. So I think this is a very informational podcast, and I think it's something that's going to be really beneficial. So thank you both for taking the time. We look forward to seeing, I specifically as a customer, look forward to seeing what all you do in the future. I'm excited to be on the train and look forward to kind of being on the journey with you guys.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Craig. It's been an honor being on your show, and congratulations on your great success to date.
Thank you. Well, listen.
Thank you, guys.
If you haven't already out there, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. Thank you for all of you that are frequent listeners. Tell a friend about us. Go rate us and review us. Man, that would be awesome. And go find us on YouTube. Even though Craig and I are ugly, you can see us if you want to. Go find us on YouTube. We're on all your major podcast platforms as well. So come find us. Thank you for listening to this show. We're here every single Tuesday. And until next time, we will see you later.
See you.